So module 2, finding your harmony through the neuroscience of peace, harmony, and joy. The triune brain. Okay, let's look at this. The triune brain, this was actually coined by this Paul MacLean during the 1960s, and it was adapted by Dr. Daniel Friedland, a medical doctor who did some work with about leading well from within. And, we can't really scientifically ideally categorize the brain this way, but it can be surrounded, but looking at it this way here, where there's three parts, the triune brain. And the first part is the brain stem. And the brain stem, in terms of our bodies physiologically, it helps with keeping your blood pressure stable, your heart rate, your autonomic nervous system. This is where your spinal cord connects with your brain there. And it relates to, actually, you can say, a sense of safety. So a safe sense of safety helps bring a sense of peace. Our limbic system here relates to belonging. And you can say belonging, a sense of belonging relates to harmony. And our prefrontal cortex, with the front part of our brain. If you notice, whenever you get stressed, you might put your hand up around your forehead. That's basically, it's helping to bring some balance to your prefrontal cortex, which allows for perspective, understanding, and a realization. And to me, when I have a realization, it brings me a sense of joy. So if you think of these three parts of our brain in terms of the neuroscience of peace, harmony, and joy, peace relating to our brainstem, our limbic system relating to harmony, and our prefrontal cortex relating to understanding, realization, joy. And if you look at it in terms of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, he broke it down. If we actually, again, making it succinct and categorizing it, a sense of safety, you can say, at the base, having a sense of safety, love and belonging, and then a sense of significance. When we have understanding, it gives us a sense of significance. So let's look at this a little bit more deeper. So I know this is a big picture here, but just take it in for a moment. So you can see the unstressed brain versus the stressed brain. What happens when we get a threat to our sense of safety or a sense of belonging? It fires what's called the amygdala in our brain, and it begins to crowd out. It begins to squeeze out our prefrontal cortex, where our understanding is. But when we're in a state of coherence or balance or finding our way with that, it's our prefrontal cortex that is in control, that actually allows for perspective, for understanding. And this was coined, this was actually created, this diagram was created by this Amy Arnsten from Yale Medical School there. And it depicts there what happens though when we are stressed, when our sense of safety is threatened or sense of belonging is actually not there. It crowds out how we can actually connect things. So let's look at this in terms of what it takes to bring some balance to our nervous system. But before we do that, let's look at our nervous system. So our autonomic nervous system is combined with sympathetic and parasympathetic. So our sympathetic system speeds our body up. Our parasympathetic system slows our body down. So this is basically our health and healing mode when we're in parasympathetic dominance. That's when we're breathing in slow, out slower. It helps to activate our parasympathetic system. But all these nerves are the blue nerves are the parasympathetic, the yellow nerves are the sympathetic, and they all have an influence on our eyes, on our hearts, on our lungs, on our stomach, on every organ tissue in our body. The thicker nerves, which are the blue nerves, the parasympathetic, they're thicker. They're designed to run 90 to 95% of the time. The thinner nerves, the yellow nerves, are more prone to inflammation if overrun. Common lifestyle mode of the day, which is the common lifestyle mode of the day, basically, as we know. And when that happens, when we're running too much on sympathetic dominance, our nerves, you can say, are on fire. And there's a little simple way of testing that is by testing your saliva pH. If it's acidic, you're running in sympathetic dominance. And it's just something to take note of that. But we want to actually see what it takes to actually have a fire burning within us, but it's contained. It's contained, so it sustains. And for most of us here, we're later in our years. Again, talking with Heather about since I've seen her since 1994 there. But to know that as we have that burn of enthusiasm, inspiration that we're about, that's not out of the control, but it's in place. We can feel a sense of, you can say, sustained purpose. So your brain and nervous system is dependent on your conscious state there. So looking again at the triune brain or autonomic nervous system, looking at a sense of safety, longing, and significance. So consider this meditation. And this is something you may want to look to invite yourself to experience here. So in terms of a meditation where you call out to your consciousness, may I be safe. May I be safe. May I belong. May I understand. Okay. I find I invite my consciousness to feel that, to know that. And you may want to explore with that. We're just repeating to yourself in heart, may I be safe, and feel the feeling of that. May I belong. May I understand. Okay. It opens a door. It opens a door to feeling safety, to have our prefrontal cortex in control. Okay. Now, this is a diagram I've been using, and we'll take it for this module, we're going to take it from the bottom up. So we're wired to connect. We're wired to connect with those in our world. But when things come along, like internally unresolved hurts, traumas, misunderstandings, interfere with a sense of association, a sense of belonging interferes with that belonging. So when misunderstandings come along, that may interfere. We might have certain hurts that we have felt for a while. There's a tendency to withdraw, limit interactions, or just go it alone. So much time, you can say, can be wasted, whether in ourselves or we may observe it in others. So much time is wasted being sorry of the past, of things we may have done wrong. A change in the sense of letting your life be redirected. So letting it be redirected to live in the present, in the coherent, receptive flow of the space of now. So you can say this wavy line again, a sense of coherence, but there's always something happen. There's always, you can say the energy animating everything is animating us. We have to remember that and know that. But in coherence, we can receive that flow in the space of now. On the one side of the past and the other side, the future. And then there's alignment. And when there's alignment, you can say from above, down, inside, out, and we have an influence. We can extend peace, harmony, and joy. Presencing practices. Now, part of being in alignment is seeing what it takes to bring ourselves into the present moment. So what we did with the heart-focused breathing, that's a presencing practice. And you may know some for yourself, but any activity that helps bring you into the moment now, to bring you into presence, allows for, you can say, the presence of that coherent flow to begin to be experienced or continue to be experienced and sustained. So as we look at it in terms of conscious clearing, messenger RNA process, use as needed to restore your sense of belonging, connection, and harmony. Now, last session, we focused a little bit different there, but today I have a little more tweaks in terms of looking at, again, finding our harmony, finding our sense of belonging through the neuroscience of peace, harmony, and joy. But first, we want to be aligned. And we're aligned, we become a messenger. You can say a messenger of the light of peace, harmony, and joy. But when things come along, seemingly out of the blue, something unexpected, our heart can contract. We might have the sensing, oh no, why did that have to happen? Our mind could get twisted. We have to recognize in that moment what's happening, to recognize that. And then we recognize we have a choice. If we don't recognize that, we default. We default to possibly taking offense, holding grudges, cynicism, withdrawal, and shutting down. So before we spiral down, even if we get caught in taking offense, if we can recognize we are taking offense and then shift, to shift in terms of being deliberate, deliberate in the moment, to upright ourselves and breathe, to do that as long as it takes for you to remember and affirm what you love. And partly there's a verse in the Bible that talks about whatsoever things are lovely, think on these things. Whatsoever things are pure, lovely, think on these things. Remember and affirm what you love. And when you do that, it brings perspective. And it allows for a sense of spaciousness, a sense of relaxation, and the sense of openness. And when that occurs, you can say that prefrontal cortex again opens up, and there's understanding. And understanding, you can say why we may have done something or why someone else may have done something, and that allows for forgiveness to be known or to be extended through us. And when we go through that process, and sometimes we might have to go back to square one, thinking on the things that are lovely, to keep moving up in this process from perspective to spaciousness to understanding to forgiveness. Sometimes it might take some time to get there, but if we're having a time, we just go back, consider the things that are lovely. For me, when I take a walk, it's just appreciating the nature of trees or leaves or flowers, which allows me to feel that sense of spaciousness. And then when that happens, then we have a clear field. And when we have a clear field, things are neutralized. The things that owe no feeling is neutralized. And then we can appreciate the integrated part you play, we play individually with all, restoring our sense, your sense of belonging, connection, harmony. Okay? And so instead of having that oh no feeling, we have a feeling of, oh yes, here is my opportunity to wax on in stature and influence, having a sense of this is what it means to really mature, to wax on in terms of recognizing opportunities and then being deliberate and doing what it takes to clear our field so we get back to waxing on in stature and in influence and shining the way for all, playing our essential part, having a sense of destiny, the world depends on me, on my expression, on my influence, so that we come into a consciousness of the significance that we are individually, having that sense of significance, going from safety to belonging to significance, coming to a consciousness of the significance that we are individually and together. And here it relates to coming to that in terms of rest and inaction. Finding, we're going to be talking about the next module of finding how do we flow with that in terms of rest and action so that our sympathetic nerves don't burn us out, and we rest more in a parasympathetic dominance so we can sustain our reason for being. And as we do so, we find a sense of mastery. So this is my aspiration, and this is what I look to bring all of us into the process with, and from this perspective. So a sense of belonging, connection, harmony, meditation. So let's just take a moment here. I know I've just giving you a few things to consider. So look again to upright ourselves, hand on your heart there. You may want to close your eyes. And just consider breathing in slow and out slower. May I be safe. May I belong. May I understand. Breathing in slow and out slower. May I be safe. May I belong. May I understand. Breathing in, breathing out slower. acknowledging and opening up to significance that's within ourselves, the significance of being together, of being unified, of being in place, playing our part, playing our part together harmoniously, and feeling that feeling. Feel the feeling. May I belong. May I understand. May I be safe. Just feel the feeling of that. Just feel the feeling of it. Breathe in and breathe it out. And breathing in and breathing out. Okay. There's a little touching in there. And you can open your eyes, and then let's consider this. Again, personally consider what most stands out for you today. You know, I wanted to have a little succinct lesson for tonight there to help provide a seed in what I spoke about. So personally consider what most stands out for you in what we just shared. What insight has been most valuable to you? How will you apply what you've learned today? And is there anyone or anything you may have most appreciated? So consider that. You may want to, write that down. Consider what stands out for you, what insight, how you apply, anything else you'd like to appreciate. So take note of that. Robert's going to play some music.